Coming your way on this week's edition of Wind Tunnel, I'll visit with TrackHouse Racing President Ty Norris and get his take on the team's recent purchase of Chip Ganassi Racing. You'll also hear from Chip as well. In addition to addressing his sale of his NASCAR team, we'll explore what lies ahead for the man that likes winners. And you'll get an overview of the short track racing world, courtesy of PRN's Lenny Batycki. So buckle up, because it's time to crank up Jack Arut's Wind Tunnel.
You're entering the Wind Tunnel. No spin, no bull, all Jack. Wind Tunnel is brought to you by
Advance Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR.
Here is your host, Jack Arut.
Hey, welcome back to your podcast designed to give you access to racing's newsmakers. And as always, I hope that once you finish your visit here, you leave having learned something new about the sport that you love. The Tokyo Olympics have finally come to a close, and this past weekend, the premier levels of racing were back in action. NASCAR at Watkins Glen and Indy cars for the very first time on the streets of Nashville. Speaking of Nashville, it really was great to be there in person, and I enjoyed hooking up with some of you and sharing in person our mutual love for the sport. But we're back here and ready to crank things up. So let's not delay, shall we? Let's kick it off with this week's racing recap. After a layoff for the Tokyo Olympics, the premier levels of racing were back in action this past weekend. They joined NASCAR's weekly tracks that never took a break and continued to produce exciting action throughout those Olympics. For the update on the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series from this past weekend, let's check in with at the track host on the Performance Racing Network, Lenny Batycki.
Thanks a lot, Jack. This is your NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Series Racing Report. We'll start out with Adams County Speedway in Iowa and Rockford Speedway in Illinois. They're the tracks that will be on Ryan Blaney's car at Indianapolis. Randy Sargent won at Rockford, Austin Paul the victor at Adams County. Autodrome Chartier in Canada to Stephen Cote. Kelly Basin got the win at Sunset. Beach Ridge Motor Speedway in Maine to Alan Tardif. Dave Sensabaugh got the victory at Berlin Raceway in Michigan. Wisconsin Cedar Lake to Nick Anvilink. Randy Coppernoll got the victory at Madison. Central Missouri to Dennis Elliott. Ricky Bly got the victory at Claremont Motorsports Park in New York, while Kelly Soper did the same at Riverhead. Chris Eggleston continuing to win at Colorado National. The same for Brody Montgomery at Coos Bay in Oregon. Adam Benzik and Chad Wallen split the victories at Minnesota's Elko Speedway, while Evan Rygielski got the victory at Evergreen in Washington. Craig Van Doren continuing to groove at Grandview in Pennsylvania. Zach Miracle and Ryan Glensky split the wins at Florence Motor Speedway in South Carolina. Up at Hickory in North Carolina to Gene Painter. Ross Dalton got the W at Wake County. Hudson Speedway in New Hampshire to Jimmy Renfrew. Stephen Paquette got the victory at Lee USA. And at Monadnock, it was the checkers for Todd Patnode. Trevor Huddleston won both races at Irwindale. I-80 in Nebraska to Andrew Koziski, while Dennis Arnold got the checkers at the Concrete Jungle at Kingsport, Tennessee. Kansas's Lakeside Speedway to Jack Wagner. Mitch Keeter victorious at Salina Highbanks. Lima Land in Ohio to Jeff Koz. Chase Belcher victorious at Seekonk in Massachusetts. Idaho Meridian Speedway to Troy Evans. Ben Ebling victorious at Radford, Virginia's Motor Mile Speedway. And South Boston, the checkers to Peyton Sellers. That's your NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series Racing Report. Thanks a lot, Jack. We'll see you next time.
You'll be hearing more from Lenny a little bit later in this episode. But first, Watkins Glen International hosted NASCAR's Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series over the weekend, with the trucks and the Xfinity cars running a Saturday doubleheader.
Going green.
Immediately 3 wide going down to turn 1.
Oh, look at that
we
big
talked about
dive.
this.
Didn't take long. Nemechek and Rhodes, and the 18 of Chandler Smith has gone around as well. Austin Hill in the blue truck on the outside, and Todd Gilliland in that red truck inside, and we've piled them up again, or collected some again, going down into turn one. Gilliland is going to win stage one. It's his third stage win of the season. Back at Watkins Glen, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, and because of lightning in the area and continued strikes, this race has been called 11 laps shy of the end, and the winner will be Austin Hill.
It was nerve-wracking, that's for sure. I didn't know if we were going to go back green or not, but man, it feels so good to win a road course. I've been wanting to win a road course for a very long time. I mean, even back in the K&N days, I've always felt like I get around the road course fairly decent, and you know, finally we've had a race that you know, does everything that we needed it to do. And you know, I was really biting my nails a little bit when that rain came. I didn't know what was going to happen with the lightning and all that.
They're coming to the green, back to racing at the Glen.
Stressful first corner to see Ty Gibbs in that 54. Oh, locked up Harrison Burton in the white 20, locked up his front tires down into turn one.
Half a car length separating. The 54 of Ty Gibbs and the 16 of A.J. Allmendinger. Does he cry a crossover move to the inside? Ty Gibbs trying to take the stage win away.
Watch this 54 close in right on the back bumper again. Just getting him loose, a little contact right here. Battle still for the lead. Ty Gibbs clears Allmendinger in turn 6.
He has risen to the occasion, as you mentioned, beating the best today at the Glen, out of 7 for the final time. Ty Gibbs will see the crowd rise. The 18-year-old is going to win at the Glen.
Those two, 22 and, you know, AJ, the baddest dudes on the road course ever, and I don't know how you know, my guys worked so hard and did such a good job. We just had a really good, just a great race. I'm just lost of words right now. I'm tired. This is just awesome.
Then, on Sunday, it was time for the Cup Series.
What you've been waiting for? The green flag, and there it is. Radio style from Watkins Glen. Up front, the Batycki drivers will fight for that perfect position through turn number 1. Those brake issues, obviously a problem for Keselowski as he spun. Mark Truex Jr. on the outside, on the inside, Christopher Bell, and waiting for a mistake is the 5 of Kyle Larson between first and second. 2.35 seconds. Larson ahead of Elliott on the final lap here at the Glen.
Kyle Larson's won everything he's been in this year. Dirt cars, all types of dirt cars, road courses. Never won at Watkins Glen. A couple corners away from his first career win at this racetrack.
And it's going to be win number 5 on the 2021 season for the driver of the 5. Kyle Larson comes out of 7 for the final time, and Larson is going to win at the Glen.
Chases already catch me pretty quick, even with me being an open track. So when I caught those, I think 4 cars and got into the 38 right here, I thought I would look at my mirror and the 9 would be right on me, but thankfully we had a comfortable enough gap to where I can make a mistake like that. But another amazing car. I could tell from about lap 3 after I stopped making a bunch of mistakes that we were going to have a car that could win today.
Over on the NTT IndyCar side, a sellout crowd gathered in downtown Nashville for the much-anticipated Music City GP, and they were not disappointed.
And here we go. The Music City Grand Prix is green. Colton Herta with an excellent jump makes the move on Dixon, but Rossi inside Dixon. Dixon in that orange and blue car. Rossi in the pink Auto Nation car. Herta's at the front. And even before they get to green, that's Marcus Ericsson going over the top of Sebastian Bourdais. Getting set to try it again. Restart after caution number 3. Colton Herta. Penske cars power each other in the wall. Pagano, Sato, many more, and we have a traffic jam and a stoppage. So Marcus Ericsson, the Formula One veteran who's already won this season, finished second in the last race at Mid-Ohio, gets a break, he's back in front. Oh boy, Award and Rossi. Uh-oh. Can they get it in reverse? They both get reverse. That's a killer for Colton Herta. I think Herta just hit the wall. Colton Herta has thrown it all away.
Colton, what happened when you were chasing down Marcus?
Tunnel vision, man. I feel terrible. We had the car all weekend to win, and man, I just threw it away.
We've had a spin and win. Danny Sullivan in the 1985 Indianapolis 500. A launch and win. Marcus Ericsson went 8 years without a victory. He's now won 2 times in IndyCar. Nice job, Marcus Ericsson takes the inaugural Music City Grand Prix.
It's unbelievable.
it just shows that in the car anything can happen. You can never give up. And if you have a good team and a good car, you can still get to the victory lane.
Up next is this week's Advanced Auto Parts Victory Lap, where I'll visit with a guy that you just heard from, who each and every week updates us on NASCAR's Advanced Auto Parts weekly racing action. Performance Racing Network's At the Track host, Lenny Batycki, is coming your way after this quick timeout.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
I'm Kyle Rickey from MRN Radio, the voice of NASCAR. They are the foundation of American motorsports, the launching pad for racing's future. Time now for the Advanced Auto Parts Victory Lap, brought to you by the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, driving local racing and local communities forward.
Whether you like your racing up top on the cushion or tearing up the pavement, you've come to the right place. This is PRN's At the Track, the show that covers the roots of racing.
Well, each week that recorded introduction signals my next guest sharing of what I know to be his abiding passion for short track racing. It is a fast-paced weekly show at the Performance Racing Network's website that focuses on short track weekly racers. Taking our Advanced Auto Parts Victory Lap this week is the host of At the Track, our friend Lenny Batycki. Lenny, you're part of this wind tunnel family with our weekly Advanced Auto Parts weekly racing series updates, but I really want to drill down a little bit deeper. What is it about short track racing that has led you to doing At the Track and exhibiting such an incredible passion for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday night racers?
Well, I think it is the racers and the families that are out at these tracks, much like Bill France Sr., then Jr., then Brian, and now even Ben Kennedy, that family at the high end of the world of NASCAR and the Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series. But, you know, you've got them out there, moms and dads and families at virtually every grassroots track. And the drivers are going for trophies. The purse not certainly going to pay them for any kind of lifestyle other than to come back and do it again. But those trophies matter because maybe it was their father, their mother, their grandmother, their grandfather, folks within the family, and they're carrying on the tradition because those folks before them won trophies at that track as well. It's the love for the sport, and they share it openly with whoever shows up, whoever comes out. It's always a, hey, you want a piece of chicken, you want a sandwich, you want a cold water, and it really makes you feel like that passion is there. That's what they share, and it's just a great opportunity to make new friends everywhere I go.
Short track racing was what gave rise to NASCAR. But somewhere along the line, there was a big disconnect. And we turned around, and all of a sudden, overnight, we saw the short track racing industry on the ropes. So much so that probably as I watch NBC's Peacock coverage of Dale Jr.'s series Lost Speedways, I just shake my head sometimes of some of the great facilities that have gone to ghost mode now.
I think some of it was, within the context of throwing the baby out with the bathwater or trying to, wash away a lot of things to make a clean slate in the late 90s when we had Adam and Kenny and then Dale pass away through injuries on the track, and we can go into all those things. But I think the marketing wing said, look, we need to have more of a national sport feel. We need to be careful where we grow and things of that nature. And, really trying to over sterilize something that had just a pure beauty before that point. And we forgot to call drivers by their hometown name, their home track name. We forgot to connect those dots. And that was what was so refreshing about Marcus Smith's
message to me 8.5 years ago saying, hey, can you do a radio show, PRN's at the track now, about our racers that are coming up through Legends, and then we miss them until all of a sudden they spring back up in the Truck Series. Please help connect them and connect these grassroots tracks with our big tracks, because they think we forgot them. And, I think we did at that point. But now you see a much different world. You see people like Eric Jones again running at the Five Flag Speedway. You see all the different drivers, Alex Bowman out in a winged car in Ohio and Pennsylvania, and so on and so forth. The NASCAR drivers are back to showcase the local tracks. And we're starting to hear once again that XYZ driver is from this hometown and he went through this home series. And a lot of them, more often than not, come through the Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series. And that's a good thing for NASCAR to reflect back on their home track.
Well, and in addition to that, certainly we've seen a resurgence away from the NASCAR banner. And I'm of the opinion that it filtered down from the top when, as you referenced, the Eric Joneses of the world and the Kyle Larsons, when they would cut their contracts with these racing organizations at the very top, would say, I don't want to lose or ignore my roots. So that cross-pollination and that symbiotic relationship, I don't know, you see it a lot more than I do, but it seems as if it's on the healthy track now. What say you?
I see the relationship rebuilding. The grassroots is going to be a little bit cautious as to how they welcome things back after being maybe just nudged out of all the limelight for a little while, but they are welcoming back individually these stars with great zeal. And when Alex and Eric and Kyle go out to these tracks, they are welcomed as friends and as someone that they cheer for now on the weekends. They may not watch quite as much just yet, but they are developing those relationships that will bring fans back to the grandstands to see the guy that came to their local track, and they will tune in to find out how he's doing on the weekends, whether it's on a streaming service maybe in the future, on broadcast TV right now. But I think the things that the drivers have done in the last 6 months, this season specifically, to reopen that channel of communication and relationship with their hard work of going out there and sometimes getting their tails busted by other drivers has done a good thing. So I see it as positives. All these grassroots series see NASCAR as the ultimate destination, whether they can make it there or not. Circumstances be what they are, but NASCAR still has the great rung that it has, and now they're mindful that these smaller organizations and smaller tracks can help with the overall picture to make our business healthy.
Lenny, in your opinion, how important is storytelling to reestablishing the merit and the importance of short track racing?
I think storytelling is the only way we can re-engage these viewers and listeners out there, because we can all go and see a great basketball game at the YMCA if we want to watch people, shooting a ball into a hoop and doing, neat things. But when you start to put out there names like Kevin Durant, LeBron, and all the rest of them out there, we want to buy tickets. We want to see it because we know the depth of their story. And as we know the depth of the stories of these drivers, where they grew up, what they did as short track racers, how they were molded, what their parents did to earn them this opportunity to get out there, I think we're going to see that drama really build in natural, organic rivalries, out there. When you talk to somebody from Ohio and you mention the word Michigan, poof, instantly rivalry right there in their mind. As we remind drivers that came from Ohio and Michigan about each other, instantly those rivalries return and the stories can begin of how one invaded the other's turf as a late model driver and then on their way up to NASCAR and the big things we see on the weekends.
Over the course of this first season of Wind Tunnel, numerous episodes of Victory Lap have focused on drivers that just really want to make a home running short track racing, and then others, and youngsters specifically, that really are just trying to hone their racecraft in hopes that they'll get a break and be able to climb up that ladder. To me, it's an interesting mix, and it's almost serendipitous. Those, and I'll use for example, a Bubba Pollard, whose time has come and passed, or a Burt Myers who had the opportunity and now are very, very satisfied with enjoying the weekly racing. And yet the fields are populated by those young guns that hopefully in their mind, their performance will get them noticed. What has that done to the dynamic and the paradigm of short track racing?
Well, I think it's been there, but we're better at telling that story and better in understanding that kid that is trying to knock out the home track hero to be able to make his way on up is somebody that, yeah, we may not like that he knocked out our home track hero, but he may be that home track representative that makes it up even further. So, if John Holloman starts to nudge on the back of Burt Myers at Bowman Gray this next Saturday night or wherever, we might be seeing Holloman rising up to bigger things while Myers is content staying where he is. But he may have taught that Holloman kid a lesson as to how to get around him one way or the other, whether it was on the track, whether it was at his bumper, or maybe at his fist. It still was the things that each learned on their way up. And I think the drama is there. And if the folks at these tracks will continue to promote their stars, and you and I have talked about this, we have certain tracks that are right there every weekend that give us these rundowns and great lineups and things like that. And others, it takes almost all week before we find out even who won at their tracks. So it falls back a little bit on these promoters to continue these storylines so that everybody can get involved in the exciting things that are happening at the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series and on up to the Cup Series and beyond.
You have a unique opportunity because you do have a connection with your at the track each and every week to get feedback. And also when you attend the races, forgive me, but you are a cult hero on a lot of America's short tracks. What sort of feedback does Lenny Batycki get from the race fans? And what sort of feedback do you get from the competitors?
Well, I think the competitors are really more focused on what they're doing. So I get a polite hello, nice to see you again. Thanks for having me on. I'm not there to do anything more than to be kind of a Charles Kuralt person that tells the story of what's going on to the viewers of the social media that we have when I'm out and about. And to the fans, it's neat to hear their stories about what they thought of any given story that we have. And, with the racers being so genuine and speaking so from the heart in the interviews and conversations we have, it's amazing that the fans respond to that. This week's show, I have somebody that has spinal cord injury, was paralyzed for weeks and weeks, and finally came back out of it. 3 years later, he's now a winner at a grassroots track in Indiana, and you could hear in his voice what it was like to come through 3 and 4 on his way to the checkers with the villain of his local track chasing him down. And as he said, he would have had to have gone through me to be able to pass me on this one. I wasn't letting it go. It brings chills to you what they will share for their passion to get victory, even on a Saturday night track at an event that, certainly wasn't 100,000 filled with network TV, but it mattered to that young driver, and it was great that he shared that story.
One final question. Certainly those that were following it at the premier level of racing and maybe haven't visited their local short track, that Victory Lane interview at Martinsville Speedway after Mr. Barry scored his first Xfinity career win driving the Junior Motorsports Xfinity car captured the hearts and minds of short trackers across America.
Josh, I've known you most of your career. You have been a grinder. You've been in the late models for a number of years. You finally get this opportunity. You make the most of it. What do you think this says to all the short track racers across the country about perseverance and continue to give it everything you got?
Man, this is for all those guys. There's a ton of them out there that are like me, that have won here and all these great short tracks around here. We can do it. We just need the opportunities. Today proved it. Yeah, it's a short track, but it's still damn hard to win here, and we did it.
In your estimation, what the long-term effect of that will be, because he was pretty inspiring with what he had to say in Victory Lane.
Well, he's done it, as the locals say, the right way. He's worked behind the scenes as a crew member and a crew chief and earned his way on up. And there are others out there doing the same thing. And I think that has given them that little bit more boost to go on. It may have opened some car owners' eyes that, hey, I don't necessarily have to take this 6 or 7 or more figure check from a wealthy family to put somebody that I'm not 100% comfortable yet with their talents meeting the demands. Maybe this driver here, whether it could have been a Bubba Pollard, a Cody Swanson, who knows, but I think people are reimagining what a driver in the opportunity zone looks like, and Josh Berry has opened those eyes.
Lenny, keep up the great work, okay? Not just with us on Wind Tunnel, but what you do. It's a labor of love, I know, and my thanks to guys like Marcus Smith that inspired you to capture it on a weekly basis. Again, if fans haven't heard the show, they can download it where?
PRN's at the Track is available at goprn.com, and follow our grassroots Twitter, PRN's at the Track on Twitter. We'll keep them updated with everything we find.
That's Lenny Batycki. You hear him each and every week here with the Advance Auto Parts NASCAR Weekly Racing Series update. And Lenny, I am really pleased that you decided to visit with me in the spotlight and take an Advance Auto Parts victory lap this week.
Thanks a lot, Jack. Always pleasure to be here on Wind Tunnel.
Be sure to join us again next week for another trip to racing's grassroots with the NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap. Brought to you by the NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Series, advancing the next generation of drivers and champions. I'm Kyle Rickey from the Motor Racing Network.
TrackHouse Entertainment Group and TrackHouse Racing has purchased the NASCAR operation of Chip Ganassi Racing. TrackHouse has acquired all of the NASCAR assets of Ganassi Racing, including all the equipment and its 2 charters. TrackHouse will take ownership of the assets at the conclusion of the 2021 racing season.
That was Ty Norris, president of TrackHouse Racing, announcing his team's acquisition of Chip Ganassi's NASCAR Cup outfit at season's end. Ty Norris joins me next, here inside the Wind Tunnel.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Hey amigos, I'm Daniel Suarez from TrackHouse Racing, and you're listening to Jack Roots with Wind Tunnel.
Mr. Worldwide to infinity, you know the roof on fire.
There are few people working on the business side of NASCAR that have the resume and pedigree of my next guest. I first encountered Ty Norris when he was part of R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company's Winston NASCAR Marketing Group. Between then and now, he has helped develop companies like Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, Michael Waltrip Racing, Spire Motorsports, and now TrackHouse Racing, where he is the company's president. Ty Norris, welcome to the Wind Tunnel, my friend. Listen, before we talk about TrackHouse's purchase of Ganassi Racing's assets, I'm really interested in what initially attracted you to Justin Marks and his race team.
It was a project that was going to be full of passion. It's going to have some impact, and it was something that I was excited to be a part of. And quite often people have asked me the question about, about why we did something or how that happened, as if these were random events. And honestly, in the summer of 2019, when Justin and I sat at a conference room in Sacramento, California, almost every one of these elements that's happened was part of his vision. He wanted to be strategic in how we came into the sport, and that's what created the relationship with Richard Childress Racing at the level, where we were embedded on their floor. He wanted to transcend the sport. He wanted to build something that had people talking about us outside just the garage. And that's when we started talking about influencers being part of this, and that's where, and then Armando Perez, Pitbull came along, and then we talked about how to enter the sport as a multi-car team, how to be a multi-car team, and how to acquire high value charters with incredible IP and people. We didn't know how, we didn't know where, but we knew what. And when this opportunity, we kept looking at the board together, and we just thought, this is something that we might want to pursue. Justin's relationship with Chip is close, and it ended up being a conversation that turned into a business acquisition. And I try to tell folks we didn't know. We didn't know exactly which road we were going to go down, but we did map out these roads, and I'm proud of Justin, not for just the execution of the vision, but for having the vision. So few have the vision that expand to the depths that his vision did, and another very, very big part and very important part of this is he's from a family of giving. They've been everyone's been very fortunate, and I've been very fortunate, but their family's been very fortunate over the years to make some great business decisions and prosper. And part of their family's DNA is to give and to give back and find ways to give to communities and underrepresented. And that's where some of the opportunities come along with the SLAM schools that are owned by Pitbull and Fernando and just different opportunities for us to impact young minority youth in a way that not only do they become fans of the sport and followers of what we're doing, but we are trying to help build some career paths for them in the STEM curriculums. And so when you start adding all those things up, it was all discussed on the board 2 years ago, and all, through these last 12 or 24 months, these things have become reality.
I've been very fortunate to have both Justin and Daniel on the wind tunnel, and you speak about vision, and that became readily apparent. But as I said, you are an individual that has traveled through the business side of NASCAR for so many years. So can you recall anybody else during your tenure in the NASCAR world that had the same sort of all-encompassing vision that Justin and now TrackHouse Racing seem to possess?
I wouldn't ever be disrespectful to anyone else who.
No, and I'm not asking you to do that. I just find it amazing.
I guess I'm just prefacing by saying everyone has a vision for where their particular team is going, and I think a lot of Denny and Michael Jordan, those guys, they had a vision where they were going all the way back. I mean, look at Richard Childress, from being independent, and he wanted to make a business out of it, and they've all done incredible work. I will say that I have not particularly or specifically sat down with anyone in the industry who walked into the sport with such a holistic vision. I've heard, let's build a race team that's competitive and build some partners and make a great business out of this. And these things become, and you've seen some amazing work by some of the other owners in community impact events, but to have the vision walking in from a fresh start, I have not seen it in a holistic way like this ever before. And I was my jaw dropped, and I was like, I'm game, because I've always said I'm a lieutenant, and I want to be Justin's lieutenant when he says these are the types of things I want done, and I want to go help him get them done.
You can trace through the history of NASCAR pioneers, whether it's pioneers on the racetrack or pioneers in the industry, stretching all the way back to the vision of Big Bill when he got everybody together at the Streamline Hotel to form this entity. But I'm wondering if TrackHouse Racing is not defining the direction for NASCAR from this point forward, because as you just said, it's a holistic approach. And it seems as if the NASCAR industry as a whole is embracing it and saying, well, what can we do? Just the sanctioning body alone, with the drive for diversity and a lot of their social campaigns that they're embracing, Ty, has the standard been set in a proactive role going forward?
Yeah, if you look, NASCAR leadership has been very active, and so it's, we're not new to the space. Or the industry's not new to the space. We just might be new to how we're doing it. And as far as setting the standard, it's just a whiteboard in the summer of 2019 A lot of those things that we said we were going to do, we've done. But I will tell you, like, history's not made as it's happening. It has to be made, it has to be, people have to look back on it and say, these guys really did some great things and accomplished what they said they were going to do. And so, it's not enough to get the people's attention of what you're doing. You ultimately need to just get it done and be able to look back on it and tell that story. And I think that's where Justin is. He's very, very humble, has a lot of humility into, trying to do the right things. We do talk about them, which sometimes you just want to do it and not talk about it. But in some cases, the impact on the community impact stuff is so important. It's the reason why we probably talk about it so much, because we don't want to do it alone. We want the industry to be involved and other sponsors, whether they're part of our organization or not. We want to, there's 10,000 students in those school systems that are probably, I think it's 92% or something like that is minority. 70 some percent are on free meal plans because they can't afford it. And so, in the Miami school just alone has 2 years in a row where they've had 100% graduation rate. So there's some great stories that happen there, and we're part of that. But that's again, that's part of what we're doing. It doesn't work very well if not relevant on the racetrack. And that's where this acquisition of Ganassi Racing, when you look across the history of the sport, you see iconic ownership and you see organizations that have built themselves into winning organizations that can win a lot of big races and consistently be a playoff earth team. You walk in that building and look at the quality of people there, the IP that has been built up over time. It's an incredible opportunity for us to take that foundation that has been built over the last 20 years and build from that and try to continue to elevate that program into a perennial contender.
You and I have been fortunate over the course of many years to see transitions from established, long-standing race teams that were owned by iconic owners to drivers. And you were instrumental in when Dale Earnhardt Sr. decided he wanted to step out on his own and form a race team. Ditto with Michael Waltrip. But now moving forward, are we seeing a changing of the guard where, forget Trackhouse for just a second, when I say a changing of the guard, where more and more drivers want to have an equity in the race team and develop it? We've seen it now with the announcement with Jeff Gordon as vice chairman of Hendrick Motorsports. We see it with Brad Keselowski moving over in a ownership / driver opportunity in 2022 with Roush Fenway Racing. 2311's another example. Is this a trend that we should pay attention to?
Yeah, I would say it. One time's an accident, right? And then, two times starting to build up a pattern, and 3 is a trend. And I'd say this is a trend. And Tony Stewart did it. We're not the first. Dale Earnhardt. I mean, goodness, Dale Earnhardt was a race car driver and wanted to build something for his own future. And some drivers have chosen to take their investments and just retire or go to the booth or stay involved in ancillary ways. And some have decided to double down on the industry. And Dale did it. Richard Childress did it. Dale did it. Michael Waltrip has done it. And it's just, I would just say the structure of these types of deals are considerably different than what they were back then. Back then you had to do everything on your own.
Yeah.
You had to every nut and bolt had to be on your own, and everyone had closed doors next door to you. Like they didn't want to talk to you, they didn't want to share. And the industry as a whole is trying to become more and more efficient. And this next gen car is the epitome of industry efficiency with single sourcing, and it has opened the eyes to a business model. So that's the one thing that has to be discussed is it's not just a racing change, it is a business model change. and the business model change where you can have some understanding of your capped expenses and when you know how much it's going to cost you for a car versus or in technology and development as opposed to spending millions and millions of dollars and not knowing if it's good enough. So it's a business model change, and with business model changes, certainly to this point, it has attracted a lot of people to look at new ownership, and that was one of the goals. An incredible run for some of these iconic owners, but none of them are getting younger. Of course, none of us are getting younger either. But I mean, it's decision time to look at succession plans, and I think you're starting to see that reverberate throughout the sport.
All right, final question, Ty, and then believe me, I'll let you go because I do appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
If you look on the horizon, what is the next challenge that you think the industry will face?
That's a great question. It's a pretty broad question. I personally, I think when we were crushing it, 90s, early 2000s, I don't know if we knew exactly why we were. And so then when we had our issues, I don't know if we knew exactly why we were losing, we were fading some. And right now, Steve Phelps, Mr. France, Lisa, all of them, they have all leaned into reasons why. Now there's specific reasons why to grow the sport with these interesting schedules and with this new business model, and the momentum is it's there, you feel it, you see it. The momentum in the sport is back. There's a spark back. There's interest levels that are coming outside, and I think the challenge for us will be in a world that is about ADD universe. How do we keep the interest and the momentum going against the core values of our racing, which is 3-4 hour events, and when everyone is a 30-second TikTok, and so the challenge of time and maintaining, sustaining people's interest, that is going to be the ultimate challenge for us to maintain ourselves as an ongoing industry into the future.
Well, as long as there are folks like Justin, Armando, and you, Ty Norris, I feel like the future is bright. Appreciate your visiting with us. Be well, and thanks so much.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate your time, buddy. Take care.
Coming up next.
He may be leaving NASCAR's world at season's end, but Chip Ganassi's passion for racing continues in IndyCar, IMSA, and Extreme E. I'll visit with Chip Ganassi next.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Chip Ganassi has been a mainstay in the auto racing world for over 30 years. The Pittsburgh native oversees a racing network across 4 separate series, managing his time with drivers in NASCAR and IndyCar and drivers in the IMSA and WEC sports car series.
Well, over the course of so many years, my next guest has actually impacted all forms of motorsports, not just in the United States, but worldwide.
Wait, I got a joke. We got to stop.
Okay, give me the joke.
My secretary told me that three of her girlfriends got flowers sent to them and they were beautiful. I said, that's probably why. Okay, I'm sorry. I just had to get that out.
No worries, I get it. That's the beauty.
All right, you can have that one. You can pass that one along.
Well, my next guest has actually been impacting the world of motorsports, not just the United States, but worldwide, for many, many decades. That's not to say that he's old, but we all know about Chip Ganassi Racing and what he's accomplished in sports car racing, in IndyCar racing, and in NASCAR racing, not to mention the new cutting-edge technology that he's involved in that we'll talk about in just a second. But Chip, appreciate your taking a little time to visit with us. And let's first start with the news that you and Ty Norris and Justin Marks made when you decided that with an offer that was made by TrackHouse Racing, you at the end of the season would sell all of your assets from your Chip Ganassi NASCAR Cup operation. You said at the press conference that it wasn't for sale, but yet you've always had an eye towards what is the future supposed to be about.
Justin simply came to me with a great offer and even a better vision for racing.
It sounded to me as I listened to you that the dream or the business model, whatever you want to call it, that TrackHouse is trying to accomplish resonated with you and kind of ensured the health and the continued health of NASCAR's Cup Series should you decide to do what you eventually did.
You know, it's interesting, Jack. You're right. It wasn't for sale. And, you know, I would characterize it as, you know, Justin came along, called me up. It was a lot like back when I remember when I met Felix Sabates and talked to him about going racing. And I remember Felix telling me, you know, that he couldn't go racing the way he wanted to anymore. That's why it was time to turn over the team to someone else. And I think that's probably characterizes exactly how I felt, you know, when Justin called me. You know, he's a young, energetic guy, got a lot going for him. He's got a good team of people around him. You know, I like to be hands-on, Jack. Mm-hmm. And it just gets more and more difficult to be hands-on as the company gets bigger and grows. And you know, I like to be down in the pits. I like to be talking to the guys. I like to be part of what's going on. You know, I've never been one of those guys that's up in the suite sort of entertaining. And maybe that's a fault. I don't know. But I just, you know, I probably couldn't continue to go racing the way I wanted to. So, you know, when Justin called, it was probably the right time for him to make a change.
Are we going to see more and more of that sort of activity down the road with NASCAR, especially with this, what seems to be this commodity called charters?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, that's stuff for you guys to opine about. You know, I don't know much about these other teams. I just know about my team. And you know, I don't think it was really about charters at all. Or, you know, obviously there's a lot of talk about charters and what have you, but I don't think this transaction was what I would call, you know, charter initiated. You know, I got to tell you, I mean, Justin and I spoke very little about the charters, actually.
All right, let's switch gears for a second. I dare to say that there are probably 50% of the current crop of race fans that even are aware of the fact that Chip Ganassi, after graduating from driving school, after he had graduated from college, actually had a career in IndyCar racing. I was there on what I would say was probably one of your greatest moments when you made it to the podium at the Cleveland Grand Prix.
Now we turn our attention to Chip Ganassi. Not quite as exciting to finish second as first, but nonetheless, big moment for this young driver from Pittsburgh. Chip Ganassi, if there is a home track for him, it would probably be Cleveland. He's not all that far from home. There's Chip still well out on the course. You can see him just now going down the backstretch. Bob, he's got about 2/3 of a lap to go yet.
Chip Ganassi, though, if he is able to cross the start-finish line, is going to end up in second position.
Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, it was my first year in IndyCars, 1982. You know, I was on a limited schedule, maybe 6 or 8 races only that year with a guy named Jack Rhodes out of Columbus, Indiana. And, you know, you went to these tracks and, you know, you were with there were so many teams that had experience at these places like Phoenix or Atlanta or Indy. You know, so we finally went to a racetrack that was a new track. And I thought that was to my advantage, you know, because there wasn't a bevy of information. It was about learning the track, setting the car up. And I pretty handily did that. I think we qualified 4th maybe and, you know, finished 2nd in the race. I probably would have done a little better in the race, but I was just, you know, a little tentative and, you know, wanted to make sure I finished.
It seems that the really successful folks in motorsports, and especially in IndyCar, the leadership, and in most cases, the ownership, at one point or the other had sat in a race car and knew firsthand some of the basics that transcend what era it was as a driver. How important has that been to the way you've gone about your business, Chip, as a car owner?
Jack, I think it's like that in all sports.
Mm-hmm.
You can separate the owners that have been involved in the sport. They sort of run their business one way, and then the money guys that just come in with money. You look at a guy like Jerry Jones down in Dallas. There, played the game. So that helps. Look at Roger Penske. He drove cars. So look at Rick Hendrick. He built engines, raced boats, did a little car racing himself. It's no surprise that I think you got to have some passion about it if you want to be good at it. A lot of team owners like myself and Roger, Jerry Jones, for instance, in football.
Michael?
That passion was. I'm sorry,
Michael Andretti.
Right, Michael. I mean, that passion has long been in our blood. It's not something that's week to week as making paychecks out to making payroll or whatever. I mean, it's a passion that we all have, and I'm sure we're mostly proud of it.
You have a social media presence, and you ought to trademark hashtag I like winners.
Mm-hmm.
But let's drill down a little bit deeper into that, because that's short and sweet and says it without any varnish, but deep down inside that I like winners, how do you use that to your advantage when you determine who you're going to add to your stable?
Well, it's pretty obvious, Jack. I've met a lot of people that know a lot about racing cars that never won a race. So I'm not really interested in those guys. I'm not talking just about driver, but it's people throughout the entire organization. There are winners and there are people that know everything. You know what I mean? And I'll take a winner any day over somebody that knows everything. I think, I think with winning comes an attitude, comes an understanding, comes a work ethic that, and people that win races, they know what's important and what's not important along the way. You're working Friday, Saturday before Sunday, trying to get your car right. I've had a lot of drivers that, they can tell you what's wrong with the car. They just can't tell you how to win a race, and I've had other guys that couldn't care less about the car, but they knew how to win. I'm not interested in re-engineering the finer points of how to set a car up, but man, I'll tell you, if you get a guy that can win a race, you have to have a car that has a good setup on it. But, that winning attitude is that last little bit that will carry the car. So I'll take a winner any day over a guy that knows it.
That's such a moving target, Chip. It has to be this visceral feeling that one gets inside, that when you assess another human being, you go, you know what? He's a winner.
Well, I'll tell you what else, Jack, is when it's important you find people, even in the same categories, even racing in the same category year after year. What you find is what's important to win in any particular year can change, because let's face it, you're not going up against a bunch of slouches. These other guys want to win too. Guys like Penske and Andretti, they want to win too. So you have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to move with a sea change in the industry. You're still racing the same car with the same engine, with the same tires, same drivers, same pit crew. And you could be winning races, but if someone gets onto your modus operandi, it's not hard to copy. So you have to change it up every once in a while, or you have to see if other people are changing it, and you're left in the dust. That's what winners are about. Winners can spot those trends, can spot those sea changes in the business, and go with them, not be fighting against them.
It seems to me that you have spotted a trend worldwide with our new need to go green.
Extreme E is an all-electric series that takes e-SUVs to the most remote areas of the world. Unlike other series, it's not designed to be a spectator sport, but instead plans on racing in places that no other motorsport has ever been exposed to. From deserts to oceans, glaciers, rainforests, and the Arctic, The ethos of Extreme E is to race these electric machines in the places most affected by the growing global warming crisis.
I'm not really interested in how the decision came about. I'm really more interested in why.
Well, I think, we've all been hearing about, cleaner racing and electric racing or alternate fuels or look, I've been in racing my whole life, okay, since I was 5 years old. And it's always been an internal combustion engine. Let's face it, there are new technologies out there. And I think we as racers have to adopt those technologies if we're going to continue with the sport that we're so passionate about. So we have to be aware of these things. We have to understand them. And so I would say that first and foremost, this foray into Extreme E with Cadillac is just that, is learning our way along. GM's going to have a lot of electric by 2025. We're learning a lot as we go along with them about just how these power plants operate and what are their hot buttons, if you will, and what are their strengths and weaknesses, and where, how you go about that. What a better way to learn than in a racing environment.
Before I let you go, is there anything left on Chip Ganassi's racing bucket list?
I don't know. I mean, there's plenty of things on the bucket list. You can always win races, and there are races we haven't won. We've won a lot of races. It's just having that taste of victory. If you could just put that in a jar, you've heard so many race drivers say over the years, if I could just put that feeling in a jar and just take a sniff of it every once in a while, I'd be fine. And so I don't know. I mean, I just enjoy the sport. I enjoy the people. I enjoy the challenges. I enjoy the travel, whether it's around the country or around the world. It's no different, Jack, than at Stafford Springs Speedway. You run into great people at racetracks, and that's probably that's what's great about our sport. And so I just I like it. I don't know. I don't necessarily have any goal. I just want to keep winning.
That's because you like winners. Chip, it's always a pleasure. Glad you could carve a little time out, and best wishes for the rest of this season and that chase for another NTT IndyCar championship. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you, Jack. Great to be on.
Up next, the weekly Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap. But first...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
Wrong hat.
I take a 7.5.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
With apologies to Rocky and Bullwinkle, it's time for Wind Tunnel Stories. Not fractured, and certainly not fairy tales. Instead, they're stories collected during my 50 years in racing. This week, I wanted to share with you one of my favorite Chip Ganassi stories. You see, Chip and some of his friends made a last-minute visit to my family's Stafford Speedway one time, and when I say friends, I mean friends. Forgive me, I don't mean to sound like a name dropper, but accompanying Chip that day was Chip's wife at the time, the late Paul Newman, Michael Brockman, and Robert Redford. All right, ladies, stop hyperventilating, okay? At the time, I was the New England region's Legends car dealer, and Stafford raced the Legends cars on a tight 1/5 mile oval on the infield. Well, Ganassi's group wanted to have some fun, so we broke out some of the cars and started tooling around the racetrack. No surprise that the guys were fast. You heard Chip tell you about his IndyCar driving career, and Brockman and Newman had tons of road racing experience. Redford, well, with the tutoring of Paul Newman, the Sundance Kid was turning some pretty competitive laps. Chip's wife, on the other hand, well, she faced an uphill climb. Chip sent her out by herself and offered encouraging tips, and to be honest, she just wasn't getting it. I believe that's when Newman suggested that the group run an actual race. Now, I don't remember specifically what the wager was, but the green dropped and the scent of testosterone flooded the air. I fully expected Chip's wife to fold under the pressure, but much to my surprise, she didn't. In fact, she was actually doing very, very well. The race wasn't run with the benefit of caution laps or a flagman. It was just a group of people getting together and simulating a race. When someone spun out, and most did at one point or the other, the offender would just slap the car back into gear and rejoin the fray. That was until Chip's wife spun. No one really took notice, and believe me, nobody slowed down. Then, with the pack barreling down on her, I see Chip jumping out of his car and flagging everybody to a stop. We all slowed, except for Chip's wife. It took about 4 laps for Chip to get her attention, and eventually she stopped as well. That's when she said, "Why did all of you stop? Did I win?" she asked as a huge smile crossed her face. "No," Chip said calmly. "We stopped because you're going the wrong way." To this day, Chip Ganassi enjoys sharing that story and always breaks out into laughter. You see, Chip Ganassi does indeed like winners, even if sometimes they are going the wrong way.
Only now you know the rest of the story.
I'll wrap this week up right after this timeout.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Well, that yet again brings a close to the wind tunnel. I think you'll agree with me that you now know just a little bit more than you did before you listened to this week's show. Remember that the entire Wind Tunnel series can now be downloaded at your favorite download site. I appreciate your visiting. Look forward to seeing you again next week, right here on Jackaroot's Wind Tunnel.
Today's trip to the Wind Tunnel was brought to you by
Advance Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR.